Hey everybody, Regina Andler here, and welcome to Coffee with Regina. Today, I have my friend Jim Swan, who has also brought his, well, at least his mug. I don't know if it's coffee or not. You don't have to have coffee in your mug. That's the key here. With over 20 years as a small business owner, entrepreneur, award-winning author, and consultant, Jim brings his experience as a survivor of success and failure to the world of business strategy and consulting. He has turned years of business experiences, personal values, and a belief in the power of transformative energy into a laser-focused professional objective to support small and medium business owners as they expand into their highest and best selves. Welcome, Jim.
Thank you, Regina. It's great to be here with you.
There is just so much packed into just that initial part of your bio there. The first thing I'm going to ask you about is tell me about survivor of success and failure. I thought that was a very interesting way to word that.
Yeah, that's a line that has percolated up a number of years ago in my life. Lots of, I could fill up an hour telling stories about the catastrophic failures that I've had in my life. But the one, a big one that was a pivoting point for me and that got me into the world of consulting was the loss of a business. And hand in hand with it, the loss of my home. I had, in a mistaken attempt to save a business back in 2008, when the whole world went sideways as far as the economy was concerned, I did what all my friends and buddies who were business owners were doing. They were tapping into the equity that they had in their homes to prop up their business, and thinking it would just be a short storm that we needed to weather. And so I did that. The bank was very happy. They messengered the checks over that afternoon to the office, as a matter of fact. And for about 2 months, my team, we had 14 on staff at the time, we made a real effort. We found new creative ways to generate revenue, and we really were starting to think, we might be able to weather this one. And then the first week of December in 2008, and the real estate bubble burst in Los Angeles. And overnight, I lost the house, and then by extension, I lost the business. And when you're upside down on $1.5 million worth of real estate, there's no coming back from that. So yeah, that was a big one, but we survived. I pivoted, got into consulting work, and now 13 years later, get to work with small business owners and help them grow their revenue in a way that is meaningful and that hopefully can help them dodge some of the bigger bullets that happen when you're trying to grow a small business.
We all have these stories, right, of how we were brought up to become where we are now. And there's such powerful stories, and that one's huge. I mean, when you immediately the image of a phoenix comes to mind, right? Because that is the ultimate, you built this big thing, the phoenix rose and then crashed and burned. And from the ashes, you built what you have today. And so it's kind of a business story of hope, right? Things happen, and sometimes those things aren't so good. And if you are resilient and motivated and inspired, you take what you brought out of that and you build something new.
Yeah, quite true. And it's a message that I try to repeat on any platform that I am able to have, and that is the key to it is not giving up. You can't lose this game if you don't quit. It might be messy. You might make, when I think back over the mistakes that I made, oh my God, the list is so long. I in many moments, I didn't really know what I was doing. I was taking my best guess. But I didn't give up. I stayed in the game, and that's the important message.
Yeah. So when you say that you stayed in the game, I have to ask this question. A lot of people, fall back and say, apparently this wasn't right for me. Apparently this wasn't the thing for me, and I'm going to quit. I'm going to give up. And there are those of us who say, we're not going to give up, and there's a reason why. There's something behind that persistent thought to say, you know what, you can knock me down over and over and over again, and I am not giving up. So I guess my question is, what is the why behind, your resilience?
I think the why behind my resilience is a belief that was instilled in me even as a child, that and it sounds, it's really simplistic, and you can shoot a lot of holes in it, and I probably won't argue the holes at all, but this idea that if you do work hard, and if you do your best, did I always get things right? No, I made huge mistakes, but in the moment I honestly believed that I was giving it my best. um, that's all I have to offer in this world. As flawed as I am, my best effort is all that I have to offer. And I was taught that as a kid, that whatever you put your hand to, give it your very best. If you fail or succeed, it doesn't matter. Just give it your very best. And if you can know that at the end of the day, then you can close your eyes and sleep well at night and get up and try it again the next day. And so if there's anything behind it, that might be it a little bit.
That's majorly powerful. I find that very powerful because a lot of people aren't necessarily brought up with that as the lesson. It's the, oh, you failed again. Oh, you failed the test. You did this, you did that, which starts instilling those negative, the limiting beliefs, right? That you want to give up. It's like, okay, well, apparently I can't do this, so I give up, because that was what I was taught. If I failed and I was told, apparently, I'll say one that I was kind of told when I was younger was that I suck at math. And you know what? I told myself that for years, because when I was a kid, I was not very good in my math classes. Then, it's, from a limiting belief standpoint, when you think about it, is it still true, right? So when I was a kid, I kind of got chastised a lot by my parents, because I was like, what do you mean you got a D on this test? We went over this again and again. It's like, why can't you do this? And that instills those beliefs that, okay, well, I can't do this. And so for years, I told myself I can't do math, which turns out wasn't true, because by the time I got into college, I aced all my math classes and got A's on all of them. So apparently I could do math. It took me years to actually realize, though, that that limiting belief still wasn't true. I was telling myself over and over again that I'm terrible at math. And I actually still say it every now and then today, because it just comes out.
Yeah.
And then I stop and I think, I was like, that's not true. You're actually really good at math. And so I love that your lesson was, don't give up. It's like, hey, I'm guessing that, if something happened like that to you as a child, your parents were like, okay, well, what are we going to do? We're not going to give up. We're going to just learn and do something different and do something better.
That was, I think, the core energy behind their efforts, and it certainly was the lesson that I learned, and held on to. I believe me, I had lots of limiting beliefs. I had lots of gremlins that were saying all the negative things, because you can't avoid those. I heard that from friends and or acquaintances and peers, other students growing up. There's a lot of talk about bullying that we hear about today. Sign me up. I was there. I was the recipient of a lot of it. And if I had chosen to listen to those voices, the thing that I've realized as an adult is those ideas are just thoughts, and thoughts have no existence unless we give them power. So the question that you were asking yourself about your math abilities, is this really true? That's the question to ask. When those thoughts pop into my head, am I really that stupid? Well, is that really true? Actually, no, because here's this example and this example and this example where I clearly am not stupid. And just by challenging that thought with a simple question, is that true, can begin to dismantle its power in our lives. And we can choose then to focus on other thoughts, the things that I can do, the things that I am able to do, or that I'm getting better at doing, or that I'm really passionate about learning and reading and associating with people who know how to do these things, and growing. And that opens up so many more positive doors in people's lives and businesses. So spend your time in that arena rather than in the negative arena.
Yeah, that's really powerful, because when you think about going more into a business conversation here with small businesses, whether you're coaches, consultants, whatever your business is, it doesn't matter what it is. A lot of people go into business with these limiting beliefs. And so at the first instance, we'll call it a first instance of a failure. And now just to understand, for Jim and my audience, is that I actually love failure. I think failure is fabulous because I learn something from it every single time. For most people, failure is a bad word. I think of it as a positive word. So it's just a mindset switch and what you bring out of it. As business owners, a lot of business owners will say, okay, well, this didn't work. I didn't get the clients that I wanted. They didn't buy my program. They, whatever it is, they're not responding to anything that I put out there. They're not downloading my stuff. They're just not responding to me at all. I must be a failure. And that's not true. And yet so many people think about that. So when we think about those limiting beliefs, your story has so much in it that I'm just going to say maybe the average person would have just thrown their hands up and said, I'm done. That's it. I'm out of here. You, on the other hand, said, okay, that happened. What are we doing about it? And what's next? And so I really love that. So what was that motivation that really kept you going to say, I'm going to take what I learned? I mean, I'm assuming there was lessons learned in there. That failure was not necessarily a bad thing. It was a good thing.
I mean, that's the point that I have come to, but there were many years where I couldn't say that. I was still in the school of learning what was really going on, learning that my failures didn't equal what there's a phrase I've heard someone use, and I don't know who to give the attribution to, but that failure is not fatal. And when you really think about that in light of how some people respond to failure, it's a major mind shift to be able to embrace failure as an opportunity to learn. And that's where I'm at today. And I would say probably for the last 5 or 6 years, I've been playing around with that concept and really internalizing it to the point now that, when I have a failure, and there's plenty of them, it's like, okay, what can we learn? Let's evaluate that. What did we do? What changes might we make? How might we listen more carefully or act more astutely or do something just a little bit differently that would change the output a little bit? Because my experience is that if we tweak things enough, we will figure out the voice, we will figure out the message, we will figure out who the audience is. And that business that we're trying to grow will not just have a seed planted, but will sprout and it'll begin to grow. And that's pretty exciting.
That's really exciting. And that actually reminded me of, back to your bio, you have another couple words in there that really belong to this, which is transformative energy. And that's kind of what it's all about, because we all say, your thoughts are energy.
Yeah.
And you get to choose what it is that you want to think. And it sounds simple, and for some it's not as simple. It's as simple as changing how you think of something. So how we think of failure, right?
Yeah. That is a major shift to go through. And I think it's important to acknowledge that we don't control our thoughts. I mean, anybody that tells you that they can teach you to control your thoughts, just walk away. Our thoughts they appear, whether it's the universe, whether it's, the Tao, whether I don't know where they come from, but I can sit here and I can have, as we're talking, I can have 1,000 thoughts float across the screen in my mind. Did I originate them? I don't think so. They just appeared. The challenge is, which ones do I latch on to? Which ones do I take and personalize and really think on and nurture and give energy, pour energy into? That's where that word transformational to me is so important, because that implies that I'm making different choices. I'm transforming where I choose to look and spend and invest my energy mentally. And that's when real change is possible.
Wow, I'm loving this conversation, because just recently, I've been chatting with so many people that they're saying, I feel stuck. I'm struggling and I feel stuck. And that's the first thing that the first part of the conversation with them is, okay, as long as you keep insisting that you're struggling and you're stuck, guess what? You're going to keep being stuck and keep struggling. And that's kind of what you're talking about there. It's that you get to choose. So I can choose to say, well, I'm choosing to continue to be stuck, instead of choosing to say, okay, I'm done with being stuck, it's time to move on. And
it really comes down, I think, to how we frame our beliefs about every moment. Yes, you could say, I am stuck. Been there many times myself, know the frustration. I spent, in one area of my life, I spent almost 4 years being stuck, utterly stalled. I remember my grandfather years ago defining what a rut is. A rut is a grave with the ends knocked out. I was in a rut, couldn't get out until I realized that I had control of how I was thinking about that rut. And instead of saying I am stuck, I reframed what I was experiencing, still being honest about where I was at. I have hit a roadblock, I've hit a bump in the road, and I need to figure out a better way to either get over it or around it so that I can continue my journey. Changes the whole dynamic around that feeling of I'm stuck. And it suddenly you have power in the situation. You have choice. I can assess what has happened. I can look at alternate ways of continuing my forward progress. Maybe it's over it. Maybe it's around it. Maybe it's digging a hole and going under it. But I've got choices. I've got options, and I can pour energy into those options and get a slightly different result. And that's all we're looking for. We're just looking for a slightly different result.
And that could be applied to so many different things, right? So I love that, and I love your grandfather's comment about the rut in the grave. A friend of mine had told me 1 years ago too that the only difference between a rut and a grave is the depth. So
Yeah.
so same concept, right? It's like
Same idea.
you get to choose. Do you want to stay in your rut, or do you want to get out of it? And if you want to get out of it, how are you going to get out of it? Like you said, you can go up, you can go over, you can drill down under, whatever it is. I find personally for me that that's where the excitement is. That's where all of a sudden I get motivated and inspired, understanding that, hey, you know what? There's choices, there's possibilities. I don't have to stay here. I can do a whole bunch of different things. And maybe I try one of those things and that doesn't work. Well, that's okay. There was other ways to try too. So it's knowing that we have those options that, inspires and brings more hope.
It totally, it fuels the fire. I mean, to use a cliche, it adds fuel to the fire. When you realize that through your efforts of thought, efforts of action, that you have options in a situation, to go around, over, under, through, whatever the options are, and that those are as a result of your choices, that's very empowering. And that empowerment, builds hope and builds excitement and it builds energy. And that's the transformational moments that begin to happen. And I believe they can happen in little bits. It's never the blinding light, or the Moses and the burning bush. I mean, that's all great and fine, and not dishing that at all. But I find in my life and in the people that I associate with, it's never those big moments. We like to glamorize them and feel like those are the only ones that are meaningful. But I can't tell you how many beautiful mind shifts that I've had while I've been doing the dishes or loading the dishwasher, or sweeping the floor or vacuuming or something. Doing the most ordinary things is when real change can begin to happen in our lives.
Yeah, and the thought that I had there when you said that was that you need to be open to those thoughts. And you said it earlier, is that you don't know where those thoughts come from. You just decide, they show up, and you decide which ones you're going to latch onto, which ones you're going to give some attention to, which ones you're going to give energy to.
Yep.
And then
Absolutely.
when you decide which ones that you want, then that's you choosing which way you want to go.
Right. Which means in a really interesting and wonderful way, we are really in control of where our lives are going. And the way we are in control and the way we grow in that control is how we answer those mental questions, the thoughts that appear in our mind. And as we begin to manage those and handle them better, wiser, more in line with the beliefs that we hold, the direction that we're wanting to head, amazing things happen. Really amazing things happen.
Yeah. So let's shift a little bit to Pinetree Partners, because in your business and your consulting business, you do something similar. We kind of are the same but different, as most consultants are. And in your thing, I love the way you add all of this into your consulting business. So think about that. That average client of yours. When somebody comes in and starts working with you, what are you finding are like the main things that you start out with?
Well, our work as strategists and consultants working with small businesses who want to grow and become medium-sized businesses, we focus all of our energy on creating more revenue for those businesses because we believe that there's not a problem or a challenge that a small business faces that can't be effectively dealt with by more revenue coming in the front door, because then you have options. You don't feel like you're between a rock and a hard place. You're not strapped, you're not anxious, you're not stressed. So we focus on strategies that will generate new revenue. And that can be from the simple, we think they're simple, but it's amazing how many business owners have big aha moments on some of these low-hanging fruit things. When I'm speaking to business owners, one of my favorite questions to ask is, okay, ladies and gentlemen, when was the last time you raised your prices? And to watch the looks of horror flash across the faces of those business owners. Small business owners have been taught you can't raise your prices or you're going to lose clients. Now, understand, I'm not advocating a 50 or 100% increase in prices. That might be foolish. But what I am talking about is a 5, 7, maybe a 10% price increase. And when you do the math with most businesses that are up and functioning, that can translate into $20, $25, $30,000 of annual revenue just from raising your prices by 5 or 10%. And so I asked the question to my business owners, if you walked into your favorite restaurant tonight and you sat down to have your favorite steak meal and you saw that that $30 meal had gone up by 10%, it's now $33. Are you going to get up and walk away from that table? 9 times out of 10, if they're answering honestly, no, of course they're going to stay there.
Mm-hmm.
We experience those kind of price increases at the grocery store every single day, much to our chagrin, but we're used to it. Big business, Wall Street, they're really good at raising prices. They do it to us all the time. But somehow small business owners have been taught that you can't do that. So we do the math. All right, let's say you did raise your prices by 10%, and that translates into a roughly $30,000 of new revenue for you, because that's just pure profit. That's on top for the coming 12 months. How many clients would you have to lose to offset that $30,000 and drop you back down to the revenue level you are today?
Oh, good question.
And when we do the math, when we count up how many clients they have, often it's 15, 20, sometimes as high as 25% of current clients. You'd have to lose all of them over that 5 or 10% price increase. And
And
when
go-
no,
I
I
was
was
gonna
going to
I was
say,
gonna say, do you find that when you use that analogy that you're gonna lose some clients, that people shy back because I don't know if it's maybe ego talking, or just that the scared of failure piece of it, that, well, if I lose my clients, well, then what happens? Do you
no,
find that?
and it's a very valid question, and it's a very real fear. And I don't ever pretend to make decisions for business owners that we're working with or that we're talking to. Those are decisions you have to make. But if I can paint the picture clearly enough for you. Okay, let's say you did lose some clients, and I can take them to past clients of mine who have gone through this exercise where we've found that, yeah, they did lose one or two clients. And I'll bet them $100 in that moment that if you go through that process, that those one or two clients that you lose are the clients you least like doing business with. They're the ones that complain the most, make the most demands. It's all about them, and it's got to be their way or the highway. They're just the people that just aren't your favorites. So if they went away, is that really such a bad thing? And that's one or two. I have never, in the years that I've been doing this kind of work, I have never seen a business lose more than two clients in response to a marginal, a moderate rate increase. It just doesn't happen.
So if you have a client who comes in and says, okay, well, I'm currently charging $997 for my signature program, and I already feel like that's too high, what would you say to them?
Well, I mean, we wouldn't just take it at face value. We would look at let's look at the program that you're selling. What are the benefits? What are the deliverables? What do I get for my $997? And then what are my competitors charging for a similar package? And the challenge that I always like to leave on the table with my business owners is your free material, the material that you give away, needs to be better than their sold material, than the material that your competition is selling. And if you can do that, then I promise you your paid programs will sell all day long. You'll be busier than you ever dreamt of. But my guess is that today that's not the case. So we got some work to do.
I love that. That is a perfect description of, we talk about our lead magnets and the other things that we put out there for that free value. And we're like, well, that's how you bring in the new clients. And that's how you attract those people that are saying, I'm paying for the $33 steak. Because I know what it's going to taste like. I know how good I'm going to feel once I eat it. It's like, there's no question. It's
No
just,
question. Yeah.
I know that I'm getting value from you.
Yeah, I always challenge people, don't be lazy with your lead magnets. I think people throw up a lead magnet thinking, well, if I just give somebody something, my mission here is accomplished. And no, not at all. It needs to be the first experience that they have with you and your business. And that means it needs to rock their world. It needs to do something that they didn't imagine they would ever get for free. And yet there it is. You're offering it to them. And sure, I'll give you my email address or whatever the exchange is for that lead magnet. But it needs to be something that gets them so excited that they actually go home and they tell their spouse, their partner, they tell their business associate, they tell their buddy who they have coffee with tomorrow morning. You cannot believe this thing that I got in exchange, in exchange for, I know they wanted my name for an email list. I don't mind. Not if it's this kind of content. That's the response that you want. And when you're delivering that, you're not going to have any problem getting new clients.
Right. And that is the key. And I think a lot of people see others out there selling the stuff that they want to give away as a lead magnet. And they're like, well, I shouldn't give this as a lead magnet because they're over there selling it. So I really shouldn't give that away because I'm losing money. When in reality, you really aren't.
No, not at all. Because again, what is the lead magnet for? What are you trying to accomplish with that lead magnet? It's the first opportunity, a perfect stranger, someone who has never interacted with you, they don't know your name from Santa Claus, they've never heard of you, and yet this is your opportunity to make an impression. And, we hear the phrase used over and over again, first impressions. It's all about the first impressions. You've got 2 or 3 seconds to make that lasting, lifelong lasting first impression. So if that first impression with that lead magnet, that gift that you're giving, can be so powerful, so unexpected, so meaningful, to that person, to that business, whatever the objective is, that's when you're doing your job. That's when the lead magnet has value. And that's when you'll have somebody coming back, wow, that thing that you gave me was like, it was really pretty amazing. And I'm really, what else do you got? Oh, you got a book. Okay, well, yeah, I'm going to buy that book. No problem. And oh, you've got a course, or you've got a webinar coming up this weekend. Well, of course, yeah, absolutely. Here's my credit card. I mean, that's the dynamic that you want, but you don't get that with copycat, cut and paste, easy lead magnets. You got to use your imagination. You got to get into the shoes of the person that you want as a client, that prospect. And when you can know what their life feels like, know what those pains and those anguishes and those frustrations really feel like, then you can create a lead magnet that's going to touch on that, ease some of those pain points, and then you got a winner. That's the one that you begin to build a business on.
And that right there is perfect information for this audience here, because
Good.
we are just about out of time, and that is, if there's any golden nuggets to take away, I mean, there's a lot of golden nuggets in here. That one there is so powerful. We talk about it all the time. It's organic marketing, really. It's the bringing people in, providing the value, because you want them to understand, hey, I'm out here above, get your content seen above all of the other noise and content that's out there. And so, I mean, adding that extra value for somebody, like you said, it's not about the people who already know us. They already know what we have. They already know, like, and trust us. They're all good. It's not about those people. It's about the people who don't know that you exist yet. It's about reaching them. And that is such a powerful way to do it, that you change them from followers into raving fans.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So,
that's the goal.
Yeah. So yeah, we're out of time. And we could talk about this for a long time, because you and I, we are so together on this subject. Tell me about Pinetree Partners and what you have out there, because I know you have some stuff for folks if they check you out.
Yeah, absolutely. If someone wants to reach out, they can go to the website, pinetreepartnersllc.com. They can email me directly, jim@pinetreepartnersllc.com. And if they mention the show, that they saw me having coffee with Regina, just mention that, and a gift to them would be what we call a revenue experience. It's a 45-minute Zoom call. We dive into the business, to what the business is all about, what the revenue is, and then we provide to them, walk them through 2 or 3 strategies that we use with our clients to generate new revenue. We show them the revenue impact, what they could make over the coming 12 months by implementing those strategies. And then we print up a roadmap that shows them all the steps that they need to take to execute on that and realize that additional $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 of revenue. And we give it to them as a gift. There's no gotcha sales moment. There's no pitch. You're not going to be blindsided with a big sales pitch. We just give it to you and we send you on your way. We schedule a follow-up call in a week or two, see how you're coming on implementing those strategies, always in the hope that you're growing your business, making it bigger and better and stronger than ever.
And you give that away. That is huge value.
Yeah.
That's massive value. That is exactly what you just talked to all of us about doing.
We try to practice what we preach. Yeah.
I love that.
So take me up on the offer.
Yeah. You got to take Jim up on his offer, because Jim's amazing at what he does. So thank you so much for being here today. You provided massive value today, and I really enjoyed this conversation.
As did I, Regina. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you all for joining us on Coffee with Regina. If you're catching us live, put in #live in the comments. And if you're catching it on the replay, put in #replay. Let us know you're here. And remember, take Jim up on his offer. Oh, remind me again. So do they go to their website, or is it best they email you? I put both up on the screen.
Both is fine, but probably easiest and most direct, just email me, jim@pinetreepartnersllc.com. I'll get right back to you. We'll get you set up with an appointment.
All right. Email Jim. Let him know that you saw him on Coffee with Regina, and he will hook you up. So Thanks so much for joining us today, and we'll see you next time on Coffee with Regina. Bye for now.